You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans! Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am the Jacob Valk, and you're not. You know what I'm going to start with. I was there yesterday. It was an incredibly exciting game. Lightning Islanders. A game that, if you'll recall, I had no confidence in my team. Yesterday, I picked the Lightning to win 4-2. I didn't think there was a snowball's chance in hell that the Islanders would win this game. Killed me to say it, but my job here is to be objective. Like, people say to me, Jacob, how do you feel picking against your team? I don't like it. It's just my job. I can't pick my team every single game. I have to be honest. And when I pick against my team and I'm wrong, I'm happy. If I pick against my team and I'm right, I'm sad. If you were to tell me right now that the Islanders would win their next 5 games, but all I had to do was pick against them, I'm picking against them every time. Going into that game, I didn't have a lot of hope. Then when Braden Point scored for the umpteenth time, I had a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. Yeah, Braden Point scoring in his 9th straight game in the playoffs. If he scores tomorrow, he'll tie Reggie Leach's record that he set in 1976. Here's how bad it was for the Islanders at one point. They had played 5 straight periods of lousy hockey. When Anthony Cirelli scored to make it 2-0 Lightning, that was the 12th straight goal that the Lightning had scored. The Islanders did not score at all in that time frame. I gave up. Alright, the crowd was out of it. I'm thinking there's no way they're going to come back in this game. I'm going to come on this show and criticize Barry Trotz for rolling with the same players that he rolled with in Game 5. That Cirelli goal was eerily similar to a couple of the goals that the Lightning scored in Game 5. Cirelli got behind the Islanders' D, got a long lead pass from Andre Palat, and put it through Varley's legs. The Coliseum was despondent at that point. I don't think there was an Islanders fan on earth who thought that they were going to come back. They were being outplayed. They weren't converting on their chances. For the love of God, before that, they had a 5-on-3 for an extended period of time. This wasn't like a 10-second 5-on-3. No, this was a 62-second 5-on-3. That 5-on-3 was so important that after the Sergachev penalty, Barry Trotz took his time out. He knew that the Islanders needed to score there. This is a golden opportunity to tie the game. He could sense momentum shifting. He called a timeout. It didn't work. And then Cirelli scores to make it 2-0 Lightning. That's it, right? Game over. This Islanders team, as cliche as this is going to sound, never gives up. It's kind of funny. The Eberle goal. Someone behind me said to the person who he was sitting with, the reason the Islanders lose is because they don't put pucks on net. They wait for the perfect shot. They just need to put pucks on net. He's 100% right. I turned to him after the Cirelli goal, and I said, I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I heard what you said. You're 100% right. You're a good fan. I mean, I was ticked off. That game was getting to me. Eberle ends up scoring on a backhander that in no way, shape, or form should have beat Vasilevsky. But that's one of those things where you put the puck on net, you never know what'll happen. So, okay, the Islanders have a pulse. The crowd is into it. They're still down by 1, though. Can they come back? The answer is yes. Matthew Barzal finds Scott Mayfield, who came in off a line change, and Mayfield put the puck in an absolutely perfect spot over Vasilevsky's glove. The only place on earth where the Islanders could have scored there to tie the game is where Mayfield put the puck. You know, the Islanders are going to have an expansion draft to deal with. And I've been playing around on capfriendly.com to see who the Islanders are going to lose. It seems like they're going to lose either Nick Leddy or Scott Mayfield. Before the playoffs started, if you had given me my choice between Nick Leddy or Scott Mayfield, I would have said Leddy all day. Now, given this playoff run that Mayfield has had, where he's leading the team in plus minus, has scored some clutch goals, has played excellent defense, you can make the argument that the Islanders should keep Mayfield. I mean, I'll say this, not to go too far down the rabbit hole, but Leddy is on a big contract. He's set to make $5.5 million next year, and then he becomes a free agent. So you're going to have to give him another big payday. Mayfield is due $1.45 million next year and the year after. That's a lot more reasonable. I'm not saying that Leddy's contract is bad, but Mayfield's contract is a lot better. So there may be a chance that the Kraken steer clear of Leddy based on his contract situation. So the game goes into overtime. It's like 11:45 at this point. Realize, it's a weeknight. People have work the next day. Yes, overtime playoff hockey is incredibly exciting. But if you're there, and you can't just turn the TV off and go to bed, it can get a little irritating. So I was thinking to myself, okay, whatever's going to happen here, let it happen quickly. If the Islanders are going to win, let it be quick. If the Lightning are going to win, rip the Band-Aid off quick. The Lightning never had had an opportunity to win in overtime. They had an opportunity to win late in the third period after Matt Martin took a stupid high sticking penalty, but they couldn't convert. Give the Islanders penalty kill a ton of credit. But when he got to overtime, I understand that overtime was just 68 seconds long. But for the vast majority of those 68 seconds, the Islanders controlled the puck. I mean, the one time the Lightning get the puck, they make a mistake. Blake Coleman tries to get the puck to Jan Ruda. Anthony Beauvillier intercepts it and snipes the puck past Vasilevsky. I don't know what it was like on TV, but being there, it was deafening. It was an insane experience. It's the kind of thing that I hope every sports fan can experience at least once, unless you root for one of the teams that I hate. You have over 12,000 people jumping for joy. You can't hear yourself think. You're high-fiving people you don't even know. You're hugging people you don't even know. Oh, did I miss that? I mean, it was kind of funny. As I was hugging my father, as you know, after the game, people were throwing beer cans and water bottles onto the ice. And I'll get into that in a minute. But as I was hugging my father, someone threw a beer can from the 200s. It ended up spraying us with beer. I looked at my father and I said to him, "I don't care! Yeah! Let's just hope we don't get pulled over because we're going to smell like a brewery." I mean, I saw some people getting upset that Islanders fans threw stuff onto the ice after the game. You gotta realize something, though. Context is key. The Islanders are down 2-0 in a Game 6 that they need to win to stay alive. This could potentially be the last game at the Nassau Coliseum. You scratch and claw your way back into the game. Sign guy is right. Always believe. He was sitting in my row. He was holding up that sign. Always believe. I should have listened to him. I don't think I started believing until the Beauvillier goal. Also, it wasn't done maliciously. It was done to express jubilation. No one was throwing anything at the referees or any of the Lightning players or coaches. They were just trying to hit the ice. Did some of them miss? Yeah, no question. It's not a good idea to throw things if you're in the 200s. Because you've got to have a really good arm to hit the ice there. I mean, I'm sure there were people who got hit with a beer can or a water bottle or something like that. But to the people who hit the ice, I don't have a problem with it. It was after the game. It was an expression of glee. Sometimes cheering isn't enough. Sometimes high-fiving isn't enough. Sometimes hugging isn't enough. You've got to do something extra. So if you're going to throw a beer can or a water bottle and it hits the ice, it doesn't hit anyone on the ice, I don't have a problem with that. If it's after the game, okay. Maybe it's not the smartest thing in the world, but it's also not the worst thing in the world. Let's put it this way. Anyone who threw something onto the ice after the game should be allowed into the Nassau Coliseum again, assuming the Islanders make the Stanley Cup Finals, and UBS Arena for the first regular season game in Elmont. Look, winning a Game 7 tomorrow in Tampa Bay is going to be really tough. But the Islanders have shown that they can win in Tampa in this series. They did it in Game 1. It's not going to be easy. In fact, it's going to be very hard. But we just saw the Milwaukee Bucks beat the Brooklyn Nets in the Barclays Center in a Game 7. We just saw the Atlanta Hawks beat the Philadelphia 76ers in the Wells Fargo Center in a Game 7. I understand that it's a different sport, but anything can happen in a Game 7. Make no mistake about it, it's very possible that the Islanders will win tomorrow and go to their first Stanley Cup Finals in 37 years. If they lose tomorrow, you'll get an Islanders off-season preview on Wednesday night, and there will be no shows from July 5th to July 9th. I'll be on vacation with my family. Yes, that vacation at this very moment is in a state of abeyance. Alright, now it's time to preview Golden Knights Canadiens. If the Golden Knights are going to send this series back to Vegas, they're going to need to get a lot more from Mark Stone. Stone has been absolutely invisible in this series. He doesn't have a single point. He's a -3. He's the best Golden Knight on the roster. You know how many shots he has in all 5 games? 6. Just 6 shots in 5 games. That's inexcusable. If Mark Stone doesn't step up here, I don't see how Vegas wins this game. And for the love of God, start Robin Lehner. I don't want to see Fleury in net anymore. I want to see Robin Lehner. He has been the best goalie in this series for Vegas. Yes, I know he's only played 1 game and Fleury has played 4. That's how bad Fleury's been and how dominant Lehner was. If the Habs are going to win, they've got to continue to make life really difficult for the Golden Knights offense. Not just Stone. Max Pacioretty, Jonathan Marchessault, Alex Tuck. The Golden Knights have scored 11 goals in this series. So that's a little over 2 goals per game. Crazy, right? Especially when you factor in the fact that the Golden Knights scored the 3rd most goals out of any team in the NHL. Here's the crazier stat. Only 3 forwards have scored for Vegas in this series. 8 Golden Knights have scored. in this series. Let's go through them. Alex Pietrangelo, Nicholas Waugh, Max Pacioretty, Shea Theodore, Braden McNabb, Nick Holden, Matthias Janmark, and Alec Martinez. Waugh, Pacioretty, and Janmark are forwards. That's it. The Habs are doing a great job of making the Golden Knights shoot from the point. Pete DeBoer is needed to come up with interesting ways to get his defensemen involved. The Canadiens need to keep that up because it's working. Carey Price is standing on his head. Give him full credit. If the Habs win the Cup this year, he's the Conn Smythe winner. But the unsung heroes here are the members of the Habs defense that are stepping up. Namely, Shea Weber, Jeff Petrie, Joel Edmondson, and Ben Sherratt. With this game being in Montreal, the Habs having the opportunity to clinch their first Stanley Cup Finals berth since 1993. Momentum's going to be on their side. Their game plan has been perfect. I don't see Mark Stone suddenly coming alive. The Habs win it here. Alright, now I'll give you some NBA Valk talk. And I'll start with the Hawks winning their third straight Game 1 in these playoffs. Something that I did not think they'd do. I went 0 for 2 in my picks yesterday. Good job by me. This Hawks team just thrives in hostile environments. They're now 6-2 on the road. The Bucks haven't lost a game in these playoffs at the Fiserv Forum. That changed yesterday. Trae Young just went off. I mean, the Bucks did a good job of limiting his effectiveness from 3. He shot just 4 for 13 from beyond the arc. I thought both teams were excellent in terms of their perimeter defense. The Hawks hit just 25% of their threes, and the Bucks were even worse. They hit just 22% of their threes. But this is the beauty of Trae Young's game. He can kill you in multiple ways. He can penetrate, he can shoot the mid-range, he can get to the free throw line when he wants to. John Collins was a beast on the interior, as was Clint Capella. The people who needed to show up for the Hawks showed up. I can't say that about the Bucks, though. Yes, Giannis showed up, nearly had a triple-double. Yes, Jrue Holiday showed up. Was the best three-point shooter in that game for either team. But Chris Middleton just no-showed. Shot just 6 for 23 from the field. 0 for 9 from beyond the arc. See, this is what drives me nuts. It was clear that Middleton didn't have it that night. He's human. In a perfect world, is that what would happen? No. And you have every right to get on him for that. But if you see that he doesn't have it, change up the offense. Don't have him attempt 23 field goals. Don't have him attempt 9 3-pointers. If Middleton takes less shots, the Bucks win. I mean, late in the game, he could have put the Bucks up 3 with that mid-range jumper. He bricked it. He just bricked shot after shot after shot. absolutely inexcusable. I mean, this to me isn't even as much of a Hawks win as it is a Bucks loss. Bad job by Mike Budenholzer. Bad job by Chris Middleton. Let me just say this about Budenholzer. I think his job is safe. His team did destroy the Miami Heat in the first round. The Heat were in the NBA Finals last year. And his team upset the Nets in 7 games. Regardless of what happens in this series, I think Budenholzer. Speaking of coaches, there is some NBA coaching news to pass along. My beloved Nets lost one of their assistant coaches. Ime Udoka is now the head coach of the Celtics. So Brad Stevens isn't wasting any time in making his imprint on the Celtics. He traded Kemba Walker. Now he's hiring Udoka before any team hired a head coach. This is a good move for the Celtics. Udoka has a great reputation around the NBA. Obviously comes from the Spurs coaching tree. Those Greg Popovich alums usually do really, really well. With the Sixers, he was highly regarded. With the Nets, you kind of forgot about him. Most of the attention was on Mike D'Antoni and Jacques Vaughn, who could leave also. It seems like D'Antoni is going to go to the Trailblazers. I don't know why he'd want that job. If he's been assured that Damian Lillard is going to stay, okay, that's a desirable job. If he hasn't been assured of that, I don't know why he'd want that job. And Jacques Vaughn is rumored to be a candidate in the Pelicans head coaching search. The Pelicans need a defense-first guy. Vaughn could work. So this could be the first domino to fall for the Nets. But I like Udoka. Like I said, has a really good reputation. He'll be able to get along with the players since he was a former player. I give Brad Stevens credit for stepping outside his comfort zone and hiring someone who he doesn't have any connection to. I think this is going to work. Good move by the Celtics, as much as that kills me to say. In my Brooklyn Nets off-season preview, I called on the Nets to fire Steve Nash and replace him with Rick Carlisle. Did I think that was going to happen? No. But it is what I wanted. Well, it can't happen now because Rick Carlisle just signed a huge deal to go back to the Pacers. He signed a 4-year deal worth $29 million. That's $7.25 million a year. Let me say this. If that's the contract the Nets would have needed to give him, I'm not sure how I would have felt about it. I mean, that's a lot of money for a head coach. I understand that Joe Tsai has more money than God, but if I'm going to ask him to re-sign Durant, Harden, and Kyrie when the time comes, in addition to fleshing out the roster for this coming season, save money where you can. And let me just say this about Kyrie. Matt Sullivan, who I'm trying to get an interview with, he wrote a book about the Brooklyn Nets. I bought the book, haven't read it yet. Said in an interview that he's heard that the Nets could entertain offers for Kyrie. If the Brooklyn Nets were to trade Kyrie Irving, it would be the single stupidest thing they could do. Look, maybe Kyrie has ticked off some people in the organization. He does play when he wants to, and that's it. But that's just symptomatic of this era of player empowerment that the NBA is in right now. Stars dictate what teams do. They dictate when they want to play. Look, I was upset to not see Kyrie during that 2-week stretch in January. I was upset to not see Kyrie at the end of the Bucks series. But there's nothing that the Nets can do about it. They're not going to trade him. They're not going to trade the guy who grew up as a fan of the New Jersey Nets and committed to the team before Durant, before DeAndre Jordan, before James Harden, before Blake Griffin, before all those guys. You tick off Durant to no end. You tick off Harden to no end. I'm not doubting Sullivan's report. Maybe there are some members of the Nets front office that are ticked off with Kyrie. I can understand that. I'm not the happiest with him right now. But I've got to live with it. Welcome to this era of the NBA where stars govern everything. The only guy who I would trade Kyrie Irving for would be Damian Lillard. That's it. I don't know if the Trailblazers would do that. Even then, I'm not sure how better that makes the Nets. Is Lillard that much better than Kyrie? I don't think so. I don't even know if Lillard's better than Kyrie. Maybe Lillard is better than Kyrie in crunch time. Maybe he's better than Kyrie in the playoffs. But everything else, I don't know. No, I'm going to stick with Kyrie and give him a big extension. Okay, I did not mean to go down that rabbit hole. Let me go back to the Pacers hiring Carlisle for a second time, technically a third time. He was an assistant coach there, then a head coach, and now he's their head coach again. This is a great move. Rick Carlisle was a really, really good head coach for the Pacers. Got them to the Eastern Conference Finals in his first year there. They would have gone further the year after that if Ron Artest didn't go into the stands during the Malice at the Palace. Then the situation devolved. It's kind of funny. Carlisle with the Pacers made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, the Eastern Conference Semifinals, the first round, and then he missed the playoffs. But again, that's because the Artest situation deteriorated and deteriorated. We all know the kind of mind that Carlisle is. I told you that Carlisle would be out of a job for 2 seconds if he wanted to stay coaching. Did I think he'd go back to the Pacers on this type of a deal? The answer is no, but I'll tell you, it makes a ton of sense. The Pacers went with an inexperienced coach in Nate Bjorkgren, and it went as poorly as it possibly could. They got the opposite of Bjorkgren in Carlisle. Someone with a ton of experience, someone who the players will respect, someone who they'll get along with. This is a home run hire by the Pacers. They couldn't do any better than bringing Carlisle back. This is a big contract. There's no question. But the Pacers wanted a head coach with a ton of experience, and they were willing to pay a premium to get it. I can't fault them for that. This is the correct move by Indiana. In news that just came to my attention, the Seattle Kraken have hired their first head coach. They are going with Dave Haxtell, the former head coach of the Flyers, and was an assistant coach for the Maple Leafs. He was in charge of the defense. Is back to being the head man of an NHL team. He's the answer to a great trivia question, the first head coach in Seattle Kraken history. This is a great hire by the Kraken. I like Haxtell. I think Haxtell's a good head coach. I thought he got a raw deal in Philly. In his 3 full years with the Flyers, they never finished with a losing record. They made the playoffs twice. Granted, they lost in the first round in those 2 years in 6 games. But Haxtell showed that he can make teams competitive. He kind of strikes you as a phase 1 guy. A guy who can get you to the playoffs, but you won't make much noise when you get there. That's okay for an expansion team. You can hire a guy like that. You don't need to be Vegas and make the Cup Finals your first year. I'll say this, though. There are going to be a lot of ticked off Kraken fans if you don't make the playoffs. I'm not saying that's fair. That's just the way it is. The Golden Knights haven't missed the playoffs in any year of their franchise's history. The Seattle fans are going to want that for themselves. I'm not saying this is playoff or bust, but I feel like Haxtell does need to hit the ground running. Vegas, in a weird way, sabotaged him. He's not going to have the luxury of a steady rise to the top. But I think Haxtell can hit the ground running. Him and Francis know each other. Haxtell was an assistant coach for Team Canada during the 2019 Men's World Ice Hockey Championship. Francis was part of the leadership of that team, as was Jason Botterill, who is an assistant GM for the Kraken. So look, the management of the Kraken are familiar with Haxtell. I don't mind them hiring someone who they're familiar with. That's done in sports all the time. It's very interesting when it's not done. It's a breath of fresh air, but when it happens, okay, I don't mind it. Haxtell was by far and away the best candidate that Seattle interviewed. They interviewed David Quinn, Rick Tocchet, Rocky Thompson, Joe Sacco, Kevin Dineen, and Tony Granato. Granato wouldn't have been a bad choice, but Haxtell is the better choice. Good job by Seattle. Until tomorrow, I am Jacob Valk saying that I have to watch my playing weight. But the problem is that I don't know what my playing weight is. I never play.